My Garmin showed a midnight run at 2:15, but she said she was asleep. I stared at the tiny OLED screen as if it were mocking me. Two glowing lines, time and distance. A silent accusation burned in my chest. I had watched her drift off beside me, eyelids fluttering, soft snores in rhythm with our shared apartment's hum. Emily never ran at night. She claimed family dinners, early work shifts, even a yoga class once, but never at 2:15 a.m. My heart rate spiked as I pulled up her Strava feed on my phone, hoping for some system glitch, an explanation that wouldn't shatter the reality I thought I shared with her. The GPS trail unfurled like a neon ribbon, sneaking away from our neighborhood and cutting across the city's dark heart to Harrison Park. A typical route for solo training? Too neat for a late-night jaunt. Straight paths, minimal deviation. And there, midpoint at the old oak that used to line the highway, exactly where the park's security cameras flicker to life. I tapped open my own Strava, cross-referencing timestamps. At 2:15, she left our building. At 2:17, she passed under the streetlight across the corner cafe. At 2:20, she slowed near the fountain. Something made me call our friend Marcus, who worked security for the park district, though feigning casual curiosity. Seconds later, he texted, "I saw someone meeting her at the park around 2:30. A guy in reflective gear. They were too close for a casual runner meetup." My mind spun. Colleague, she'd said, just training partner. But I knew Caleb. Tall, lanky, with that perpetually smug grin. He'd been pushing her to run faster, adding interval sprints, praising her endurance. I'd overheard them planning a friendly workout. I believed it. Until now. I closed my eyes and replayed the last couple of weeks. Hushed phone calls, hurried texts, "I'll be late," even on rest days. Subtle perfume notes on her shirts, lingering longer than they should. I never confronted her. I wanted proof. So I downloaded every location ping, printed maps, highlighted the route in scarlet. I even scrolled through our shared photos, no evidence of these late runs. She never posted anything about Caleb's training tips. She didn't document it for social media bragging rights. That felt strange. Standing in the kitchen, the apartment's quiet pressed in. My stomach knotted. I hadn't slept. My own mind was a blur of images. Emily laughing beside Caleb under streetlights, their footsteps synchronized, breath mingling. I grabbed my keys, heart hammering. I had to see for myself. I slipped on my running shoes, grabbed my windbreaker, and headed out into the night, following the ghost of her trail toward Harrison Park, where every shadow might reveal the truth. The street lamps above me flickered as I pounded pavement, each footstrike echoing in the stillness. My jacket, soaked through with sweat and adrenaline, flapped against my sides. The world had narrowed to two things: the glow of my Garmin illuminating the route ahead, and the thudding of my heart, counting down the distance to Harrison Park. Every reflection in a storefront window felt like a pair of eyes watching me, weighing my guilt before I even had a chance to prove hers. By the time I reached the park entrance, the gates were locked, but the pedestrian cut was ajar, yielding just enough space for me to slip through. Inside, the paths were deserted, save for the occasional rustle of wind through oak leaves. My breath showed in short, ragged puffs, and I could almost see the scene playing out in my mind. Emily's lithe form sidling up to Caleb, whispering something that made him lean in close, their silhouettes merging under a halo of sodium light. I followed the GPS trail through the winding gravel path, each dot on my phone's map drawing me deeper into the heart of the park. At a fork, I hesitated. Left led past the deserted playground. Right veered toward the fountain. Her track had taken the right fork, so I plunged that way, boots crunching over pebbles. The fountain's gentle burble was drowned by the pounding in my ears. Then I saw them. A flash of reflective gear near the water's edge. Caleb's height and posture were unmistakable. Emily's ponytail caught the lamp's glare. My pace faltered. Caleb threw his head back in laughter, a sound that once filled me with comfort, now twisted with betrayal. Emily turned, startled, as if she'd sensed my presence. The look in her eyes was the worst: shock, guilt, fear. She took a step back, bumping into Caleb, whose expression shifted from smug triumph to wary surprise. I closed the last 20 feet in 2 strides, breath burning my lungs. "What the hell is going on?" My voice cracked like a whip. Caleb straightened, wiping his palms on his shorts. Emily's cheeks flushed pale. The night air tasted of wet grass and heartbreak. She said you were asleep, I rasped, holding up my phone like an accusation. The Garmin screen glowed at her. 2:15 a.m., 4.2 miles, an unmistakable record of deception. Emily's lips quivered. I didn't mean for you to find out like this. She glanced at Caleb, who gave me a thin, apologetic shrug before stepping aside. Silence stretched between us like a taut wire, ready to snap. The fountain's water caught the moonlight, its gentle cascade mocking the storm in my chest. Emily reached for my arm, uncertain, an invitation to hurt or to explain. I stared at her, torn between the love I believed in and the betrayal laid bare in glowing GPS dots. The night held its breath, waiting for me to decide what came next. I felt her fingers brush against my forearm, soft and hesitant, and for a moment I almost reached back, almost let the warmth of her skin convince me that none of this was real. But the glint in her eyes told me otherwise. I pulled my arm away, my breath ragged. "You cheated," I said, the words tasting like shattered glass. Emily's mouth opened and closed, a fish out of water. It's not what you think," she stammered, stepping forward. Her running shoes scuffed the gravel. Caleb's supportive hand hovered at her back before he drew it away. "It was just training," she said, voice trembling. "I never meant to hurt you." I laughed, low and hollow, staring down at the pool of water. My own face blurred in the ripples. Training? At 2:15 a.m. with Caleb? I shifted, pulling my phone into my face. "Look at this. GPS doesn't lie." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The fountain's steady cascade filled the silence, punctuating every heartbeat. Finally, Caleb cleared his throat. "Look, man, we didn't plan this to be a secret. Emily wanted to improve her pace, so I offered to help. The late slot was the only time we both had." I stared at Caleb, seeing the neat white lines of his reflection buckle in the fountain. "You could have just been honest," I spat. "Told me you needed extra sessions. You had every right, if it wasn't behind my back." Emily's shoulders sagged. "I know that. I was scared you'd think I was obsessed, or worse, that you'd feel left out." She swallowed, eyes glistening. "I felt like you weren't listening when I talked about running. I got caught up and didn't think." "Not thinking." My voice cracked. "That's your excuse? You didn't think how it would look, or how I'd feel when I saw your Garmin glowing like an alarm?" She reached for my hand again, and this time I let her. Her skin was cold. "Can we talk? Please?" I glanced at Caleb, who wouldn't meet my eyes. "I need air," I muttered, wrenching free. I turned away, vaulting the low fence toward the park's edge. The chill night wind hit me like a splash of ice. I could still hear Emily calling my name, her voice distant, echoing off the trees. But I didn't stop. My legs carried me past darkened swings and silent benches, pounding until each step felt like a plea for clarity. I kept running, the path unwinding under moonlight, chasing the truth of what this meant. For us, for my heart, for every lie GPS could reveal. The night stretched on, and with each stride, I wondered if I could ever trust the rhythm of her footsteps again. My lungs burn with each breath, but I press on, the gravel path blurring beneath my pounding feet. The park's perimeter fence slides past in a ribbon of metal as I chase the dawn that's creeping over the horizon. My mind races faster than my legs. Emily's face pressed against the fountain's rim, Caleb's mirrored smirk, my own reflections splintered by betrayal. Every street lamp I pass flickers like an unanswered question. When I finally slow, I'm 2 miles past the park exit, standing under a streetlight that hums with reluctant warmth. My chest heaves, heart still thrumming a frantic tempo, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, more beats than I've felt in years. I pull out my phone, thumb hovering over Emily's name. The screen glows. I text, "Can we talk?" No response. I delete the message and try again. I need to know why. Silence scrolls back at me. I sink onto a curb, boots dangling off the edge. The city awakens reluctantly. A delivery truck rumbles by, a dog barks faintly in someone's yard, morning traffic sighs awake. My chest aches with more than sore muscles. It aches with questions I can't ignore. I scroll through our old messages, hunting for clues, her excitement over a half marathon, our shared training goals, the way she used to brag about running together. None mention late-night sessions. None mention Caleb. None mention betrayal. A sudden ping makes me jump. An email notification, a receipt from a running store at 3:10 a.m., Emily's card ending in 4321. A new GPS strap, Breathable shorts, reflective vest, she outfitted us for these secret runs. Every purchase a silent witness. My fingers tremble as I screenshot the email. I stand, resolve hardening like ice in my veins. I'm going back through the park gates before the guard even starts his shift. The fountain, the old oak, the gravel path, they all lie waiting. My footsteps echo loud. Near the fountain I find a dropped glove, black fabric flecked with dew. I pick it up, twist it between my fingers, no words left, only the reality that I can't ignore again. I step out from the shadows and there she is, silhouetted by the pale glow of early morning. Neat phone pressed to her ear. Her shoulders slump when she notices me. Words catch in her throat. I rise to full height, glove in hand like a gauntlet. The sky behind me burns pink and gold, a promise of a new day, or a cruel reminder that sometimes beginnings come only after a storm. "Who were you calling?" I demand, voice low with tired fury. Emily's eyes fill, but she answers before she can rehearse apologies. "Marcus, he's the security guard. I wanted him to erase the footage." I grin, the sound hollow. "So it wouldn't look so bad?" I whisper, stepping closer. Her lips tremble. The sunrise paints her cheeks in shame. All at once, the world tilts. My next step will decide if this dawn brings reconciliation or final goodbye. I lifted the glove as if it were evidence in a grand trial, and Emily's eyes flicked past me to where Caleb's joggers lay discarded near the fountain's basin. Dawn was bleeding into the sky, every soft pink and orange a testimonial to the world waking up, and to the fact that our secret had just been exposed. She said, "Erase the footage," I repeated, voice tight as steel. My legs ached from yesterday's run and tonight's mad dash, but I felt every ounce of strength in my arms clenching that glove. "So you'd be alone here? No witness, no proof. Just us, pretending everything's normal." Emily's hand flew to her mouth. She looked like a little girl caught stealing cookies, except this was a different kind of theft. My trust, my faith, my history with her. Her breath came in shaky sobs. I didn't know how to tell you. I thought if I kept it small, it wouldn't hurt you." Tears exploded down her cheeks, and she tried to close the distance, to touch me, but I remained 2 steps back, the glove still in my grip. Marcus emerged from the shadows, rubbing his eyes against the encroaching light. He wore his security uniform, navy blue, reflective stripes, but his face was somber. "I didn't delete anything," he said quietly, his gaze flicking from Emily to me. "I told you so, man." His presence anchored me, reminding me that I wasn't hallucinating this betrayal. Emily looked to Marcus and then back at me. "He refused," she whispered. "He said it would be wrong." She turned pleading eyes on me. "Please, can you see why I did it?" Caleb made me feel alive again. On the track, I felt strong, unstoppable. With you, I've been so tired, so comfortable. My heart split open at that admission. Comfortable. The word sounded like a confession of my own complacency. I had dropped the ball, taken her for granted. But did emotional neglect justify slipping into someone else's arms, someone with a stopwatch and ulterior motives? The sky burned brighter as the sun breached the horizon, and I felt the first warm ray on my back. I exhaled, the glove slipping from my fingers to clatter on the pavement. "I need to know everything," I said, voice low but steady. "Tell me, right now, why you ran with him at 2:15 a.m., why you hid it, why you lied until every lie was paved in GPS coordinates." She inhaled, steeling herself. "Because I was afraid we were breaking," she began, voice trembling but clear. "And I didn't want us to end. So I convinced myself this was just training, not cheating. But it was cheating, and I held up my hand. "Sorry," I muttered, more to myself than to her. The park was stirring with joggers and early walkers. The world was moving on, oblivious to our private catastrophe. I realized that forgiveness wouldn't be a sprint, it would be a marathon, with hurdles we'd both have to clear. Emily closed her mouth, tears still streaming, waiting. I met her gaze and saw the girl I'd once fallen in love with. But I also saw the woman who'd betrayed me. Between those two images lay everything we needed to answer. Is this a fracture we can heal, or a fissure that will swallow us both? The sun was fully above the treetops by the time Emily finished. Her voice had grown steadier, even purposeful by the end, but my chest still ached from the weight of every confession. I stared at her, tracing the lines of shame on her face, the same face that once lit up at every new PR, every finish line. Between us lay that discarded glove, the fallen symbol of everything we'd both neglected. Honesty, effort, commitment. I inhaled, tasting the early morning air mixed with dew and regret. You ran, I said slowly, because you felt I wasn't listening. Her lips quivered as she nodded. I got so comfortable, so used to you being there, that I stopped asking for what I really needed. And when Caleb showed interest, when he made me feel like something still had to be earned, it felt thrilling again. She swallowed hard. That doesn't excuse it. My mind replayed months of half-hearted check-ins, distracted conversations, evenings when I was physically present, but emotionally elsewhere. I realized how quickly routine had lured me into indifference, and her secret midnight runs were a brutal wake-up call, not just to her betrayal, but to my own complacency. I stepped closer, closing the gap that once felt so safe and now felt so precarious. I'm hurt, I admitted, but I also get it. I've been taking you and us for granted. Emily's eyes widened, worry sparking in their depths. Can we start over? I asked, voice low. No GPS lies, no hidden workouts. Just real talk and actual effort. Tears sprung to her eyes, bright and hopeful. She reached for my hand, and this time I didn't hesitate. Her fingers threaded through mine, warm and familiar. We stood by the silent fountain, the city waking around us, two people raw from truth yet ready to rebuild. I'll help you train, I said with a half smile, and you'll let me in, fully. She nodded so hard I thought her head might fall off. Deal, she whispered. Together, we left the park, footprints mingling on the gravel. The sun glinted off my Garmin as I set it to record our run, this time, side by side, every step honest, every mile a promise.